So, since everybody's doing it, I thought I'd throw my hat into the ring and rate what's going on or how I feel about the Fall Guys modes. Again, this is entirely subjective, and I guarantee what you might find good, I might not find good, and vice versa. So, without further ado, let's get on to the rankings from S being I'd love it if it appeared every single time, to F, meaning please delete this now. So first one is Block Party. Block Party I find a very fun game. It is quite manic. I do find it quite easy, but sometimes you do need a bit of an easy game to, help you get through. But as of recently, they've made new routes, which makes it a lot more difficult in some ways. Yeah, definitely makes the game a bit more difficult, a lot more fun, and especially when you have to jump over the blocks and you grab someone just about to jump up and you throw them right into the block and they end up getting knocked off. So that's always a fun time. I enjoy this one, and But Block Party gets a B. Gate Crash. This is just fun. Honestly, it's probably one of the easier races. I've never lost a game in this one, and you can always have a chance to catch up if you're quite close to the back, especially since people don't know how to determine which of the doors are going to go down or which of the doors are going to come up, meaning there's a lot of idiots in this one, and it makes it kind of fun and easy again. Gate Crash I quite like, and I'm putting it in A tier. DoorDash, this one's a bit of a mixed bag for me. The problem with this one is, especially when people decide to only open up one of the doors instead of, the two or three that are on the place, everyone just goes for one door and just makes a bottleneck. Meaning, if you are ahead, going to the wrong door, you're pretty much going to end up last, and you're probably going to end up failing and not moving on to the next round. I have finished many times in this one where I'm literally the second to last, the pretty much the person right after the person that final one to qualify, and I get eliminated because of that, and that's no fun. You don't like getting eliminated. But still, it has its merits, and I do find it kind of fun, and you feel effing amazing once you manage to just take every single correct door. Because of this, I'm landing it in C tier. Egg Scramble. Well, this one is problematic because it usually ends up with a mad rush for the middle, and then the team who has the least amount usually getting dunked on by an oligarchy or mob rules. For this one, it's just utter chaos, and games that have organized chaos, I don't mind. But chaos like this, it kind of feels unfair, especially when you get put with people who don't know how to use a controller and try to just. I imagine them just slamming it against the head is the way to control the game. Because of this, I do not like it. F tier it goes. Fall Ball. This one can be fun, and it can be very strategic, especially when your team actually knows how to play the game and you're actually matched with people who also know how to play the game. Um, it can be good time, it can be a fun time, but also it can be absolutely crushing when your team doesn't know how to use their thumbs. Because of this, I don't rate it. I rate it kind of middle of the pack. Really, it's one of the better team games. The one thing I wish they would do is, in certain ways, they drop the footballs down instead of the soccer balls. If they added more balls to the game, like maybe a puck or I don't know, a cube or something, that would be very spicy and very fun. But they're not at the moment, and with that, it ends up in C tier. Full Mountain. Full Mountain is one of the end games, and the problem with this one is if you're near the back, there's pretty much no way you're gonna win. If you want to have a chance in hell of surviving, you have to be in the front. If you want to win, you have to be right in the first line. and if you don't, you are pretty much you're pretty much not guaranteed to win. So, in the sense that the game is kind of determined whether you're going to win or not by the start and the placement, I don't think that's good. And because of this, it ends up in D tier. Slime Climb. This one is honestly one of the ones I enjoy the most. A good game should be a game you don't win all the time, but one that challenges you, and Slime Climb definitely challenges nearly everyone that comes to it. You've got to keep ahead of the slime, which means you've got to be nimble, you've got to be accurate with your jumps, and you've got to be accurate with the timing. Because of this, I find it a very fun game and a very challenging one at times, but challenge is good. And I do enjoy a good challenge, especially when it thins out half the crowd in the game. Because of this, I'm ranking S tier, because it's very fun. Fruit Shoot. This one is a bit of a mixed bag. It's pretty much just a straight run, but the heavy element of RNG in this really can either work in your favor when every fruit seems to avoid you, hair in my mouth, or it seems to see that you have a magnet on you and every single piece of fruit decides to go straight for you. There are ways that you can negate some of the fruit, but then again, depending on RNG or how the fruit falls, you might not stand a chance. Because of this, I'm ranking this. Uh, I'm ranking this in D at the moment, but I will re-rank at the end to see how I feel. Hit Parade is so much fun. I love this one. Especially at the start, it's a mad dash through all the sliding blocks, and just seeing people fly left and right in the swinging balls of doom is always a fun thing to watch. This one is just absolute anarchy, and especially for new players who don't know the timing of the balls, or can't see that there's shadows on the ground or when they're gonna swing. It's always fun to see those sort of people just get absolutely knocked left and right and say it's not a good game. You're wrong. This one is very fun. You just have to watch. A tier it goes. Hexagon, I think, the is probably the best final game. It's strategic. There's a lot of different ways you can play about this. It's manic because of the timer of the hexes, and it honestly is kind of like a massive game of chess in a way, especially when it comes down to people and you have to jump or try to outrun each other or block each other off. Strategy is fun. It really raises the blood pressure when you're in this game, and because of that, I see it's possibly the best end game in Fall Guys, and because of that, it goes into S tier. Hoarders. It might be a bit controversial, but I prefer Hoarders to Egg Scramble. I find this game kind of fun, and I find it interesting seeing the roles that people play completely unprovoked. You have the people who want to get the balls back in, but you also have the defense. I've seen games where it is neck and neck all the way through, down to the last few seconds, and those games are always tense and fun. But I've also seen games where one team gets absolutely dunked on. One team gets 6 balls, one team gets 3, and yeah, someone's always left out. I do prefer this to Egg Scramble, and I do see it's probably one of the better team games because of this, but still, it is a team game where people can absolutely be useless in it. I'm ranking this in a D, but subject to change. Hoopsie Daisy, I find the best team game. It is. It's just absolute fun, and especially it tests your reactions against everyone else. I do like team games where you can play as an individual player to help boost your team's score, and it's one of the rare games when playing as an individual you can actually make an impact on your team, which for some of the other team games I don't find is the case. Uh, this is a very fun game, especially near the end when the golden rings get involved, which can help a team that is kind of far behind actually get closer to at least getting second or first. Because of this, I'm ranking this in A tier. Now, Jinx is a game I haven't seen too often, but honestly, I find it an absolute crapshoot on whether you actually do succeed or not. Um, it all when 'cause it's effectively infected from Halo or Call of Duty. I never really like those modes in general, but this one is kind of again, it depends on how your team is. If they're on point, you can kind of win pretty quickly, but if you're not, it just doesn't feel right playing this. Sometimes you feel like you could be outrunning everybody, but you just see your team's numbers fall down and down and down because they just haven't got they don't know how to use the right analog stick and have a look around and see what's around them. Because of this, I'm not the biggest fan of Jinxed. I'm putting it in F tier. I do not like the game at all. Now, Jump Club and Jump Showdown I see as two different games. Jump Club I find absolutely a joy to play. It's just fun and goofy, especially when you get hit by the bar, but sometimes by the skin of your teeth you somehow manage to stay on. It is effectively the sweeper from Wipeout, and that's always one of my favorite events to see on that show. And just playing it is an absolute joy. There isn't much strategy because sometimes you can get dicked when the top sweeper bar and the bottom sweeper bar are at the same level, and there is just no way you can survive that. Again, it is a bit more RNG heavy than some of the other ones, and as you kind of find out, anything that kind of relies on RNG, I am not the biggest fan of. When it comes down to your own personal skill and not some random number generator that determines whether you win or don't. Because of this, Jump Club goes into the say B tier at the moment. Now, Jump Showdown, that's the good one. That's one of the top two end games. Jump Showdown, especially when it gets to the parts where the blocks fall down, it again it primarily relies on your own skill, and unlike Full Mountain, where you are doesn't really matter because at the first 20 seconds you have full reign to run around the ring, and it's all up to your own again. What you see and how you act all depends on how the game goes down. Yes, there is a bit of that RNG that dictates whether you're actually gonna, if you're kind of absolutely screwed when you can't make the jump between two gaps. But I find it very thrilling and very heart racing when it comes down to two individual blocks and five people trying to jump over the same ones. I find this better than Jump Club because the stakes are higher and higher stakes can mean kind of good, means more fun in some ways. This goes into A tier for me. A perfect match is kind of a gimme. I do want them to make this game harder, and the most I've ever seen people lose in this one is about two people or three people lose. They need to make this harder. But then in saying that, sometimes getting a gimme game is, a good time. And it's it can be entertaining to see people who have absolutely no idea what's going on try to play this, but also kind of fun to see people try to see people psych people. Also to see people try to psych other people out is also a good time as well. But they need to make this harder. It's a gimme game, so it's getting a D. Doesn't deserve an F, I don't think, but it needs to be better. Rock and Roll is my other favorite team game because again, it doesn't really rely on RNG. The only RNG is how good your teammates are. But this game usually ends up in a close battle uh, between the three teams. I enjoy this one primarily because it is a direct team game. You have to work together or you lose, which is kind of the basis of the other games, but this one I just feel is more involved, more bonding with your team. And especially if you have one person try to run to the end and get to the end zone so you can try to sabotage other teams, it's good fun. I do enjoy this one. It goes into a B. A rollout I do enjoy. I find it easy, quite quite easy, but there is strategy. There is a lot of movement, and you do get quite a few near misses. Um, if you stay in the center of a circle, you're kind of safe. Stay on the edge, people could throw you off, which could be annoying. But as long as you're aware of what's going on, you should be fine. They have made it harder by the discs spinning a lot quicker and bigger gaps in between the discs, so that it's not as easy to run between them back and forth like what my strategy is. Because of this, I put Rollout in an A tier. Dizzy Heights, yeah, it's okay. It's one of the better race games. It is fun to just jump across all the ones, but again, I find it kind of easy, and the end part is just. It kind of seems they kind of gave up at the end. Um, which I don't. I understand it's a bit difficult to, give a satisfying conclusion, but just a simple run up a hill, eh. But the parts leading up to it is very entertaining. Um, it gets a B, but again, subject to change. Royal Fumble. This one is very RNG heavy. Um, it literally doesn't mean anything until you come into the last 10 seconds of where you are. It is kind of fun or very heart racing when you get to the end. There's about when you manage to keep the tail for about 20 or 25 seconds, then it gets snatched off you, or if you come to the end, you manage to snatch it with about 10 seconds left on the clock, and you're about to get that win, but then you get stolen again. Um, the problem is when there's too many players, I find it kind of all up in the air, but when there's less players, I find it a lot more fun. Royal Fumble, I think, kind of fits middle of the pack. Isn't fantastic, but it's not, Jinx or Egg Scramble level of bad. Seesaw. Now, this this is infuriating yet fun because I find this game the one you have the highest chance of surviving if you're left in the back. It's quite because of how people work and they don't know how seesaws work. It is infuriating when you get stuck on one of the two paths and your seesaw just doesn't come down. But it's also fun to see people not understand that because the seesaw's nearly vertical, you will not be able to stand on it. Um, if you're at the front, it's an absolute mad dash, but if you're careful, you can just hop your way to victory pretty easily. But if you're stuck near the middle, that's where the challenge comes in. But I also find it quite fun when that happens. Because of this, Seesaw gets a B. Tail Tag and Team Tail Tag, I'm going to rank separately. I don't find them equal as each other. Tail Tag, I kind of find quite fun. Outrunning, and it does have that survival element, which can be a good time, but I find that a bit more unique. And yeah, it is a bit of a crapshoot seeing where people are, but again, I find it fun juking and using the hammers to fly around and to dodge other people and to see how they act when there's one person with a tail and just seeing five people run behind them trying to snatch it. Uh, I don't mind this one. This one is kind of fun, but I don't like it when it appears every time. But I do not mind it when I see it, so it gets a C for me. Team Talk Tag, I wish they would just erase because this is just again you could be the only one in your team holding the tail, and everybody else in your team not knowing how a goddamn controller works or how to avoid people. It's manic, but manic doesn't always mean fun, and I just find it annoying sometimes when you see your team just winning and then all of a sudden you drop by 3 points and you're out of the game, just like that. Because of this, I do not like it quite a lot, and it goes into F tier for me. Tiptoe, I don't know how I feel about it, honestly. It is an annoying game. especially near the end when effectively if you fall off in the last two blocks, you lose. There is no way you can recover it. Effectively you have to be up with them the entire time or you're out of the game. It is RNG heavy, well, of course it is because of the blocks, but I find it's a tricky one. Like sometimes it can be very fun when you're in the middle and trying to shove everybody to get to the blocks, but it's also annoying when you fail at the last bit and there's just no way you can catch up. Because of this, I'm ranking it a D, but it is subject to change. Actually, no, it isn't. Tiptoe is definitely saying the D. It's not god awful, but I'm not the biggest fan when it comes up. Whirligig, I'm saying this right now. This is my favorite race. This is my favorite race one. Because it's just absolutely hilarious seeing people not know how to jump and not know how to time things. Seeing people try to run the center or not know how to jump over the one at the end to avoid the big propeller to get to the hill is never not funny. This is my favorite one because I love games that involve timing, and I love games that actually do challenge your dexterity while also making everybody else who don't know how to do it look like absolute asses. Because of this, it is my favorite race game. It goes into S tier. I would love it if I see Whirligig every single time I play. Um, so that's all the games ranked at the moment, but I'll just check and see how I feel. So Slime Climb, yeah. Hexagon, yeah. Whirligig, yeah. Gate Crash, uh, yeah. Hit Parade, yes. Who said yep, yep, yep. Block Party, uh, yeah, that can stay. Jump Club, uh, yeah. Rock and Roll, good. Dizzy Heights, yeah. Maybe Dizzy Heights can stay. Seesaw, yep. DoorDash, okay. Uh, mm, I'm actually moving it to a D. A low D, a high D, so it can graduate, but I think it's fine where it is right now. Full Ball, good C. Royal Fumble, yeah. Tail Tag, yeah. Full Mountain. Actually, race Full Mountain Belt. It does require a bit of challenge, and it can be kind of fun, but again, RNG at the start dictates whether you're actually gonna, advance or not. Fruit Shoot, yeah. Hoarders, yeah. Perfect Match, yeah. Tiptoe, yeah. DoorDash, I just moved that. These three can obviously stay at the bottom because I am not the biggest fan of these three. Can't wait to see how the game updates in the new rounds, especially since they might be adding in more random elements into certain games on random, and especially seeing how Big Eatus is going to affect some of the games with the massive flying hammer they're going to introduce. So that's my rank. It's my opinion. If you don't like it, make your own list. So, uh, that's all I have to say about it. Now, go watch something else.